Today's episode is brought to you by Zapata's Grill. They've proudly been serving the Florence area for many years at 904 Pampico Highway. You can find the link to their website containing all of their information down in the description.
Welcome to the Florence Foodies podcast, a place for the community to gather and share the stories, voices, and experiences that make Florence feel like home. To support this podcast and the Florence Foodies platform as a whole, click the Support This Podcast link found in the description.
So naturally, it's always been this way. When you think about NASCAR, the first thing you think about is Michael Jordan. Tyler Reddick with the 3 wins to start the season. We're at Phoenix next week. I think that's the first time a season's ever started with 3 wins back to back to back.
That's right? That's right. It's a historic start to the 2026 season. You mentioned Tyler Reddick. He's won the Daytona 500 and to start off the year. He followed that up in Atlanta with the win, and then he went to Circuit of the Americas, our first road course of the year, this past weekend. And first driver in NASCAR's 78-year history in the Cup Series to win the first 3 races of the year. We've had a lot of 3-in-a-row wins, even 4 in a row, but the first time it's happened to start the season.
How tall is Tyler Reddick?
You know, a lot of our drivers are probably under that 5'10" threshold. We've got a few that exceed it and have over the years. But Tyler, you know, if I had to take a shot, he's probably 5'8". You know, he's a compact guy, but he's got a lot of muscle, obviously, to wheel that car around 3 different style of racetrack and do it in pretty dominating fashion across all 3, taking those wins.
Yeah, that's something people might not realize that I think is really impressive about what he's been doing is across all these variety of tracks, he excels. It's pretty phenomenal. This is completely random thought, but you were just talking about the cars and drivers being compact. I remember the Shaq versus with Dale Jr. That was like my favorite episode. I don't know if you remember seeing that. And like the biggest challenge they had probably was getting them in the car. They're not really designed for 7.5-foot guys.
No, and Shaq's not your normal 7-foot-plus guy.
He's not.
You know, just as big and stocky as he is tall. And I think, you know, tying that back into basketball in your opening comment, for those that don't know, Michael Jordan is the co-team owner for 23XI, who Tyler Reddick drives for. And this was not the first time that they've won since he's been part of that team. It's a team that he co-owns with Denny Hamlin, who also still drives in the Cup Series. And anytime you've got Michael Jordan kind of in your sport and then being featured as a winning car owner to start off the year, there's a lot of positives that come along with that for the sport.
Yeah, I would say so. It's definitely a benefit. Brings extra attention, and that kind of ties into something else I was thinking. It just seems like it's a good season for NASCAR because something I want to talk with you about a little bit, and I think we did talk about this last year, was the point structure and the postseason structure. And I just got to tell you, this is just from a fan's perspective, just being able to kind of speak freely from that standpoint. I'm really excited about this. I like what they did. Just to me, just on paper, not even a nostalgia like the old guy in the room. I like it the way it used to be type of thing. I think it's logically makes a lot of sense what they've done, and it should make for some exciting racing regular season and, of course, postseason.
It's a little bit of a return to our roots, so to speak, and I think that's really a theme for this starting with 2026, and it's not going to be a one-year thing, but we're going back to what we call the chase format, and what it is, it still provides a regular season and a postseason, but it's based on your total points over the course of the season. First 26 races in the regular season, drivers are competing. There's no longer a win and you're in to get into our version of the playoffs in those final 10 races. It's really about rewarding that season-long consistency, and I think that's one of the things that as this conversation unfolded, I would say behind closed doors, but there was a big committee that was meeting on this throughout the year last year in NASCAR, and they had voices, former drivers, team personnel, a lot of input. And I think as the season also went along in 2025, more and more people started to come around to this idea of maybe there's a way to hybrid approach, and what we landed on was the chase. And so what we'll have is the first 26 races of the year. All the drivers are competing. You're gathering points throughout the year based on your finishing position. There are more points awarded for a win, so winning still matters the most, which I think is key. But it also creates a situation where you also need to be consistent across the whole season. So after the first 26 races, we'll take the top 16, we'll reset the points, still providing an advantage to whoever won the regular season and down through point 16. And then over those final 10 races, it'll be another points chase all the way to the end at Homestead, Miami, which is our championship event this year. We're grateful that Darlington, the Cookout Southern 500, will start that off Labor Day weekend, the first race in the chase again, and then we'll go 10 weeks in a row leading up to Homestead.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and that was the thought that I had. What you just said is that it's kind of a hybrid. It provides the best of what was, but also I think what the original goal was when all the changes started way back when. So
Yeah, I think it's, motorsports is unique. It's not always the same as stick and ball, and there have been, ways that in the last 20 years or so our sport has tried to weave in some of those concepts, and I think it was good to test to see what works. And this format that we've landed on, I think really speaks to the traditionalist motorsport fan that likes to see that season long consistency be rewarded at the end. It still elevates winning races on a week to week basis. Every driver, they show up to the track, whether it's the Cup Series, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, the Craftsman Truck Series, and their goal every weekend is to win the race that's in front of them. And if they can't do that, they want to get the best finish that they can. And ultimately, at the end, we want to look back and say, you were the best, most consistent driver throughout the year. That doesn't always mean it's the driver with the most wins. Sometimes it works out that way, sometimes it doesn't. But this format, I think, as we talked about, it gives the best balance between where we were previously with a playoffs and cutoff and elimination and win and you're in, to balance it out with what some fans wanted to go back to was just a complete season-long points championship, no chase, no postseason, no regular season. So to me, this is a good bridge
yeah,
between the two.
yeah, I agree. So that Darlington kicks off the chase, which is cool. But we're already pretty much 2 weeks away from Darlington, the first go round. So I'll just kind of turn it over to you. That's obviously the Cup Series race is only part of that whole weekend. So what all's going on at the track here in a couple weeks?
Yeah, so we're the sixth weekend of the season from a regular season standpoint this year, which is the earliest we've been in a long time with our spring race. You probably have to go back into the 90s when Darlington had a March race. But we're excited. March 20th through the 22nd, we got a triple header weekend. We're going to have the Craftsman Truck Series on Friday night at 7:30. We'll have the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series Saturday afternoon at 5:30, and then we have the Goodyear 400 Cup Series at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. And that's just the racing on the track. The whole week kicks off really on Tuesday morning. We open up the campgrounds for everybody that's camping on property. You can come in starting at 9 a.m. It's St. Patrick's Day, the 17th, so we'll be theming out our campground entry, doing some fun things with our campers that day around St. Patrick's Day. We've got track laps for charity on Thursday evening, so you can come out and drive your own car around the track. 3 laps, $30, and it all goes to support Harvest Hope is our charity partner on this event, so a great charity to support. That's Thursday evening. We got obviously the racing on Friday. We're going to have a parade from downtown Darlington, a Legends Parade, starting Saturday morning at 10 a.m. from downtown Darlington back towards the track. Just a big mixture of on-track activity, off-track activity. When you think about a NASCAR event, it's more than just the race that happens, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It's really about trying to build the whole community in for the entire week. When NASCAR is in town, it's a big part of the region here and the impact. And it's like you said, it's just a couple of short weeks away.
Yep. So I'm gonna ask you some random questions that I know that people probably would be interested in.
Okay.
What's the speed limit on the charity laps?
Well, we if you go read the rules, we pace those laps at about 70 miles per hour. Um, that's the limit that will be out front. We've got some regulars that come out. We love to see them every time. We do this about 4 times a year on average. The track laps for charity, and we have some folks that come out just about every time we do this, and we love their support. And they've learned, I'll call it maybe some tricks of the trade over the time over the years. Maybe they lag back a little. We try to discourage that, but some people, they might have a nice um, performance car they want to test out a little bit. But we thankfully everyone keeps it safe. I will say there's nothing like the feeling the first time of going off into turn one or going off into turn three. And if you're carrying a little more speed than you're comfortable with, it'll get your attention really quick. It's one of the it's called the track too tough to tame for a
Yeah.
reason. But it's a fun time. You'll go out there if you've never done it. 70, 75 miles per hour is a pretty good thrill going into that banking.
You do not want to kiss the wall in your 2025 Corvette. Your insurance company is not going to be happy about
Nobody wants to do that. And on race weekend, I really don't want you to do that
it.
because
Yeah.
our team has spent a lot of hours painting and prepping the walls already. First cars on track will be our track laps for charity for the whole weekend. We'll leave it up to the truck series will probably be the first ones on track, and I would give it about 2 laps into practice, and we'll start to see some Darlington stripes on the side of those trucks.
How many degrees? What's the degrees on the banking?
Yep, 23 degrees on one end, 25 degrees on the other. So it may not sound like a lot, but what I love to do is we'll host different groups out at the track, whether they're field trip groups from local schools or other business groups. They'll come out and we'll stop on the apron of the track and let everybody walk up, and it's always amazing. It's about 4 stories tall at the top of that wall. And when you get up there and you walk that incline,
Yeah.
you can really feel it, I think that's when it hits people. Okay, this is not just an oval track. This is how they're able to carry that speed through the corners.
Yeah. And if you've never driven it before, then when you go and you do hit those turns the first time, that's going to be a shock because it's a lot more than you expect when you're sitting sideways like that and you're
That's right. You got a little bit of that. You feel the G forces a little bit, kind of press you back into the seat. What's really interesting is turn one. When you're going into turn one, just the natural way that the car wants to go. There's a white line, and the car will dip down towards that line. Your front left tire will kind of hit that line, and then it wants to send you right back up towards the wall. And it's just a naturally the way the track is built, and it does that. And the first time you ever do it, it grabs your attention. But then you kind of get familiar with it, and that's what these drivers have done over the course of their career. They've studied, they've driven this, they've got simulators, they know where those are, and they know how to push the limit. And the limit for speed around Darlington Raceway is right up against the wall. So if you come out to track laps, we want you to keep it about a car length off the wall. You'll find plenty of speed right there, and you'll go home with all the paint that you came with on your car.
You definitely want to do that. So I got another random question. This is just something I noticed. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what you'll say. We'll find out right here, right now. So the last year, I think it was just the fall race. It might have been both, but I did not see the Goodyear blimp.
Goodyear is our partner for this race, the Goodyear 400. Unfortunately, last year, the blimp I think Goodyear has 3 blimps that they spread across the country. One stays out on the West Coast. One is based out of Ohio. And then there's a third one, and I think it stays kind of in the Southeast. Unfortunately, the 2 that are closest to us were both down for maintenance and service last year. So that was a little bit of sometimes it's routine, sometimes it's not routine. Last year it was not routine. Unfortunately for this year's Goodyear 400, they scheduled all their yearly maintenance on the blimp prior to us releasing the NASCAR schedule. So the blimp will be in normal routine service because of our earlier March date. So this will be 2 years. Unfortunately, we won't have the blimp But it's on their radar. Great partners in Goodyear. I expect if we don't have it back for the Cookout Southern 500 and Labor Day, definitely will be back again next year for the Goodyear 400.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's your answer.
On the flip side, last year in May, after our spring race weekend, um, earlier this year, Dodge the Ram brand on the truck side, came back into the sport. So the first time we've had a new manufacturer in the sport in a number of years. Dodge used to run in the Cup Series. They left in the early mid 2000s, and they've come back in the Truck Series with the Ram brand. Well, last May, to make that announcement, which they did last summer, they actually filmed overnight at Darlington for 2 nights the commercial that was going to reintroduce the Ram brand and announce their return to NASCAR. So that was a really cool experience for us at the track. We had to kind of keep that secret. But when you talk about the blimp, we actually had the blimp come in for that shoot. And that's probably the lowest I've ever seen the blimp hover over the racetrack as part of that filming. So we know it's been around. We got to see it in that commercial, and we look forward to having it back soon.
So Dodge makes a return. My favorite memories of Dodge were Ray Evernham and Bill Elliott. So I mentioned this. I don't remember if I mentioned it on camera or not last episode that we did, but I know I mentioned it at some point in our conversation that I grew up a big Bill Elliott fan. That's with my dad and everything. And I remember all those years of my childhood when Bill had the McDonald's car. There wasn't a lot of winning going on, and he made that switch over to with Ray and Dodge, and he was lighting it up. He was on a streak there for a little minute, and just a little personal. Nobody probably cares. This is a
Hey,
personal
Bill,
note for
Bill,
me.
hey, that no, it's an awesome story. We had Ray Evernham back at the track a couple of years ago as part of our alumni reunion weekend and celebrating the history of the sport at Darlington. Got to know Ray. He's involved. He's still very involved in cars. He's gotten involved with the what was the IROC series, a lot of those old cars and restoring them. But he had a lot of success. He left. He was Jeff Gordon's crew chief, won 4 championships, kind of had everything right there. And he wanted to challenge himself with something new. So he left. He went with Dodge, a new startup team, and got that thing going, hired Bill Elliott. They won some races. And ultimately, Dodge had some success. They were with Team Penske back then. Brad Keselowski won the 2012 championship driving a Dodge. So it's good to have them back in the sport. We'd love to see them maybe in the next couple of years take that investment that they've made in the Ram brand on the truck side and elevate that to the Cup side. But it's good to have them back.
Yeah. Yep, that was pretty awesome. I think they won at Pocono that one year, maybe Dover, New Hampshire, something like that. It was just pretty sweet. Being a kid watching week in and week out and your favorite driver, I never really got to see him win because of my age when I came into it. He was out of the 9 by the time I was really watching and understanding what was going on. And then he goes back into it and wins. So it was cool. So welcome back to Dodge was the point of all that. But racing's not the only thing that's going on out at the track. So I know that whenever we talked about doing this episode, there's a few different things that you wanted to mention. So what's happening after this race weekend that's coming up?
Yeah, we've got a good schedule coming up as we head into the summer. Obviously, with this being the Florence Foodies podcast, we want to talk about some food things. We'll come back and maybe talk about some of the unique food items we're going to have this upcoming race weekend. But after in May, we got a couple of events. First is the Taste of Darlington. This is an annual event put on by the Darlington Downtown Revitalization Association, the DDRA. We host it every year inside the Cup Series garage. It is one of those events where we're going to have 35 to 40 local, regional chefs that will come out and prepare their favorite dishes, and just a big, community food event. All the proceeds that are generated from this benefit the DDRA, which their goal is to help continue to bolster downtown Darlington's area and help it grow. So we're excited about that event. More information will be on the DDRA Facebook page and website here in the coming weeks. You can buy your tickets. Great partnership with that event. And then a couple of weeks later, we're going to have an event that folks around the area may remember prior to 2020. It's an event that we hosted at the track, and we're bringing it back. It's called Speed and Feed. It's our barbecue festival and car show. So it's really excited about this. The last event was actually held in 2018, and it was going to be held in 2020 just before COVID, and unfortunately knocked it out. And our team have been talking the last couple of years. We'd love to bring this thing back, and so we're excited. It's May 15th and 16th. May 16th will be the big day. Information is out there on our website, darlingtonraceway.com. Just look for the information on Speed and Feed. You can sign up to be a cook team. We're looking for craft vendors. If you've got a car you want to enter into the car show, or if you just want to come out and take it all in, it'll be a free event for the public. We're going to sell barbecue sampling tickets on Saturday. We're going to have food trucks out there. We're going to have your Kona ices, all the fun things that kids want. Working on all the other activities. Probably going to have a kids zone. So May 16th, coming back with Speed and Feed. The other part of the speed in that is the NASCAR racing experience we'll be running that day. So we do track laps for charity, and you can drive your own car. But if you want to drive a real stock car or ride in a stock car, you can do that with NASCAR Racing Experience. They're going to be there on that Saturday as well, offering up rides. So that all that information is on NASCARRacingExperience.com. You can sign up and pay to do 3-lap rides or 5-lap rides, or you can go for 45 minutes if you want to. So it's one of those cool experiences. But we're really excited. The barbecue event is sanctioned by the Kansas City Barbecue Society. So if for competition barbecue enthusiasts, this is a sanctioned event. Teams that are competing, not only be competing for about $12,000 in total prize purse, but also for points towards the year-end competition, the big Kings Royal event out at Kansas City.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Was it an SCBA event? We've had a couple of guys that do competition cooking on the show. I don't know if they'll be out there or not. So it's not just barbecue though. What else? There's chicken. What else is going to be cooked that day?
Yeah. So from a competition side, it'll be the 4 meats. It'll be chicken. It'll be ribs. It'll be brisket and be pork. So all the teams competing will be turning in all 4 categories throughout the day, and then once their turn in has been completed, we'll open it up, and fans will get to go out and check those cooking rigs up close, be able to sample some of that barbecue that they've cooked, and then obviously we've to car show going on at the same time. We'll have activities for the kids, hoping to have a lot of craft vendors along with the car show. Going to have a little swap meet there as part of it. So just a big day to celebrate 2 things that are known here in the Carolinas: barbecue, good food, and fast cars.
There are 2 things that are important in life.
That's right.
So I was really excited when I was looking at that, because brisket's not, because of the nature of South Carolina, which is fine, but brisket's not, we don't see it in these competitions a lot in our area. And some people get uptight about it. I don't know why, because brisket's good too. If you're from Texas and you want to call it barbecue, call it barbecue. Go for it. But I mean, I just like to eat it, and I like it when it's prepared well. So I was really excited to see that as an option.
Yeah, that's one of the things. We looked at, how do we want to do the competition side of this, and in years past with this event, it was sanctioned by several different groups, including the SCBA. But the 2020 event, the team in Darlington was down the road working with Kansas City Barbecue Society. So we reached back out to them when we started our planning. They were interested in partnering with us again. And I think that's the unique part of it. So you're going to be able to have some of that traditional Carolina, what we're accustomed to here. But you also get some things that, like you said, maybe are more Texas based. Maybe the brisket and some of these other, the ribs and the chicken. So it's a great event for the competition, but it's also going to be a great event for families coming out, for people coming out and having a good time. Get to sample some of that later, and then like I said, we're going to have other other food trucks there with some things you can take part in during the day while we get ready. Looking forward to a big event. Just another way to open up the track, open up the infield, let people come out and experience Darlington Raceway off race weekend.
By the way, for anybody that didn't see this, and I just told you this a minute ago, still to date, you are the only guest that has ever offered to and then performed cooking for us on the show. And so I appreciate that. Or just bring food. If any of you ever just want to bring food, you don't even have to cook it live on set. You could just bring it. We appreciate that too. But you did that, and that was really good. And that was the Carolina dog from. So I'm assuming maybe that is or is not on the menu. What do we have on the menu this coming race weekend?
Yeah, so I got to give our chefs credit. They got some creative minds. We're gonna still have the PD dog. Will be a
PD dog. I
staple.
said Carolina
That's
dog.
all right. It's all right. That's the one we cooked on air. It's the all beef hot dog split with the toasted bun and the crust of pimento cheese on top. So you can still get that one. I'm gonna pull this up so I make sure that I don't misspeak on any of these, but there's a couple that I want to highlight. One is the smoked burnt end bologna sandwich.
Oh
So
man.
the smoked burnt end bologna dusted with house-made barbecue seasoning, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, crispy fried onion straws, and
Oh man.
pickled chips. So
Man.
that's hard to beat right there. It's a little bit of a taken. We've previously had the big bacon and bologna sandwich. So this is a little bit of a twist, still using bologna, but preparing it in a little different way. So I'm excited about that one. The other one that I wanted to highlight, and there's several here that we're going to have, but the palmetto pork chop sandwich. So this is going to be a crispy golden fried pork chop on Texas toast with mayo, onions, lettuce, and house-made pimento cheese. So one of the things I love about our race weekend, we always have a kind of a vintage retro food concession stand. This is going to be on the Tyler Wallace concourse, the main concourse, right along the front straightaway. Open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can get these items all 3 days at the racetrack coming up for the race weekend. And I think it's just a cool tie-in to our area, our region's food culture, and some of the things that are popular here, and then putting a new little twist on them.
Yeah, you had me at smoked burnt end. You didn't even have to say bologna. It really didn't matter what the what
Doesn't
it
matter
was.
what the meat is, just smoked burn in is
Yeah,
going to be
I was
good.
yeah. Okay, that sounds excellent. Um, another random question. I'm just throwing these at you.
Yeah.
There's no preparation for these. So I remember I spent a good bit of time working in the restaurant industry many moons ago. And one thing that was always exciting during race weekend was you never knew what members of teams, obviously drivers, were going to come. These guys are in town. And I was just curious because I'm out of that realm now at this point. I don't have as much, day to day exposure and conversation, and just thinking about how the sport is. And interestingly, there's other traveling sports that are a lot like this too these days. But the guys, they've got these big, nice buses that they travel on. Do drivers, teams, do they still get out like that a lot when they come into town?
It's different, I will say. I remember and I've heard a lot of stories about, I think the first motor coaches really to arrive in our sport were, around the mid 90s, maybe early 90s, and maybe a Dale Earnhardt or a Mark Martin. Some of these guys started bringing motor coaches, and it's obviously grown. And over the years, for the drivers, and especially the ones that are younger now with families, having kind of their own home away from home makes a lot of sense as they travel 38 weekends
Yeah.
a year. But there's a good balance. I mean, the drivers will be out and about in the community in a number of different ways. A lot of time, those appearances are tied into their partners and their sponsors. Ross Chastain is a good example. Ross has a partnership with the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. He's usually visiting a school on a Friday in our region. He's visited schools over here in Florence. I met him over at West Florence last year, the year before. I think he's going to be around this year on a Friday. You'll see drivers pop up at appearances at a Walmart or a tire store or whatever is that connection to them. And then in terms of getting out and eating at our restaurants, it happens. It probably doesn't happen as much as it maybe did at times. One of the things that has changed in our sport is just the physical fitness, and a lot of the drivers are taking their nutrition very seriously. So they travel with team chefs, people that cook food specifically for them so that they're prepared and their body's prepared for 400 or 500 miles going around a track. So it varies. I will say not every driver has a motor coach. I know there are some that still come into town. They'll stay at the team hotel. A lot of our teams stay here in Florence, and we love the hospitality that they get over here. Had one driver come up to me last year and kind of ask for some recommendations. He's staying at a hotel in Florence, and I gave him a couple of recommendations and saw him the next day. I think he went to town hall and had a great time, great meals. So there are some that get out. I would say it's probably more likely on a Friday night, maybe a Saturday night. As soon as that race is over on Sunday, though, they are headed back home. We're 2.5 hours from where a lot of them live in the greater Charlotte area. So they get back home. They're in their home for a couple of nights, and then they hit the road to the next one.
It's a heck of a lifestyle, man.
It's busy.
Yeah.
These guys are busy. They'll get back Monday mornings. They're usually at their team shop having a debrief from the race weekend with their team. Then for the next couple of days, they're either doing sponsor appearances or whatnot. They're doing work in the simulators, just prepping for the next race. So a lot of people think they just show up on Sundays and jump in a car and drive, but there's a lot of work and preparation that goes in, not only on the drivers, but also the teams back at their shops throughout the week.
I was just laughing because that makes a lot of sense as far as fitness and training and just sports nutrition in general. Things are a lot different than they used to be, obviously, with technology and education. And I was just thinking how much different it would be. Some of these guys, fit, health conscious, private chef. And, back in the day, you just think of NASCAR driver like smoking a cigarette during the red flag.
Yeah, tough. These were really your tough guys, your tough drivers. Cars don't have power steering. You got former football player. Cale Yarborough was a football player before he, really took off in his motorsports career. And a guy like David Pearson was we talked about Tyler Reddick's size earlier. David Pearson was a little bit bigger.
That's one thing also that's really phenomenal. It's really always been that way with NASCAR. I mean, granted, probably definitely much more so now than it was, but even back 30, 40 years ago that I can recall, I mean, you would see these cars, like I think about Rusty Wallace off the top of my head, or Darrell Waltrip, just different incidents. These guys are flipping, and I mean, by the time it's done, there's nothing but a roll cage left, and they just hop out of the car, and it's just, that always mesmerized me at the safety features on these vehicles. It's just so much different than your Toyota Corolla,
Yeah.
that you're driving to work.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the origins are sport. It's stock car racing. So you take a car off the showroom floor in the early days in the 50s and 60s. That's literally what they were doing. They were driving cars right in the track, going out and racing them, driving them home. You might have, taking the windshield out or the passenger side window. You might have a little bit of a reinforced roll cage over the years, and that obviously progressed through various generations of our car over many years. And I think that's one of the things that today our sport is so proud of is the safety enhancements and the advances we've made. When you think about the car itself and all the safety built into it and the way it was constructed, you think about the walls. We've got the safer barriers now, so they flex when cars hit them. You've got the helmets, you've got the head and neck restraint system. There's so many things that go into keeping our drivers safe. And while those crashes are get a lot of attention, the best thing about them is when you see them unbuckle, get out of that window, and walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you know, we do our Florence Foodies favorite Florence food item. In this case, it would be Darlington Foodies favorite Darlington food item, but it could be Florence food, Florence County, Darlington County. It's one and the same. We share a technical college. So to me, we're like twins, basically. And you've already been on, so I'll just ask if you just wanted to add on anything lately, maybe since the last time that we talked locally, that you've really enjoyed whenever y'all go out to eat.
Yeah, a lot of great restaurants here in the Florence area, and we try to get out and experience those as often as we can. Being in Darlington, working every day, it's a good balance of restaurants there. One that we visited recently that, if you're looking for that kind of down home cooking, that meat and three, that kind of buffet style. Got to put in a plug for our friends at South of Pearl. Great little lunch spot right there uh, near the square in downtown Darlington on Pearl Street. Todd Hardy and that group do a great job. Monday through Friday, you can get a great little lunch meal in and out of there pretty quick. And then he started something new on Friday nights with some steak dinners. So just want to say thanks to Todd, great partner, great supporter of the track. And when you're in Darlington next time for lunch, especially go check out South of Pearl.
Good answer. I've seen them. They're in the group. You could find them if you're part of the Facebook group. They post different, notifications pretty often. So I just throw one more random question at you. I thought about it. People probably would wonder. You've got two major race weekends. Thankfully, we're very happy about that per year. And then there's these events that you guys are doing a great job putting together events, community events, opportunities to do different things out there at the track, take advantage of the space and the setting. What are you guys doing during these large gaps in between race weekends at the Darlington Raceway?
Yeah, there's a lot of time and planning that goes into putting on a full race weekend. It's so that's really what our team works on. There's a lot of planning and preparation that goes on. We will start renewing tickets for the 2027 Goodyear 400 weekend during this upcoming weekend. So we're pretty much on sale with tickets 24/7, 365. And then we do a lot of, right after an event, we'll do some debriefing. We send out surveys to our guests. We take all that data. We look and see, all right, what are the things we did really well? Hey, where are the areas that we can improve? And we start working on, hey, can we make these improvements for the Cookout Southern 500 weekend? Are they longer term strategic things that we need to look at? And that really starts our process. Spend a lot of time looking at the activities that are going to be taking a place around the whole weekend. We mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's not just the racing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's so many other elements of a race weekend that have to get planned and executed, and that's what our team's doing. And then, we're a little bit of a regional based model, so we have some of our team members will help with other races on the schedule throughout the year. We'll go travel a little bit and help those tracks. So there's always something to do and plan, and we're always looking ahead to see, hey, what are there other non-racing events that we can do at the track to bring people out, utilize the facility 365. We do have a number of smaller events that take place. Some are private room rentals, things like that. There are some smaller events that take place. So there's a lot that happens that maybe doesn't get quite the level of attention of a NASCAR event, but putting on two of those every year takes a lot of time and planning for our team.
I would imagine so. All right, and so we do have one coming up. So I'll just kind of let you, help us land the plane. Race weekend's coming up. What do people need to know?
Yeah, so I mean, we highlighted a lot of the activities that are going to take place. Love to see everyone out at the racetrack. Friday night, Saturday, the Buckle Up South Carolina 200 on Friday night, the Truck Series, the Sport Clips Haircuts, VFW Help a Hero 200 on Saturday at 5:30. Both of those races, some of the cool things, kids 12 and under are free with an adult, so it's a great way to get kids exposed to the sport and to the track. On Sunday, tickets for kids start at $15. And then we're excited. All that information is on our website, darlingtonraceway.com. You go check out the full weekend schedule, see where we're going to be throughout the week, things that are going on. We're going to have a cornhole tournament on Saturday. We mentioned the parade. We'll have a blood drive going on during the week. You got the track laps for charity. So a whole week of activities. Would love to see the support from the local community, the regional community. If you've never been out to Darlington, no better time than this upcoming year, March 20th through the 22nd. Go get all the information at darlingtonraceway.com.
Absolutely. And I'll put any relevant links down in the show notes for this episode. And I'll tell you, I tell people all the time, I said it on this last episode, but if you've never been out to a NASCAR event, if you've never been to a race, whether it's Cup Series, Truck Series, whatever it may be that makes sense for you and your schedule, go out. I took somebody out year before last. We talked about in that last episode. He'd never been, had no point of reference whatsoever to NASCAR racing. And I intentionally Didn't tell him anything. I didn't give him any heads up other than bring some earplugs if you feel like you might need them. That was because I didn't want to leave him hanging on that note, but that was it. And he was blown away from the very beginning. It was so. I mean, it. If you aren't a fan, a lot of times attending in person can make you one pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's a full sensory experience. You get the sights, the sounds, the smells. There's nothing like the smell of burning rubber, that racing fuel. It's a full sensory experience, and something that if you've watched a little bit of NASCAR on TV, but you've never been out to the track, I'd encourage you. There's something different about being there. The feel that you get when those cars take the green flag and go rumbling around that 1.366 mile track that we've been racing on now for 76 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to it, and looking forward to a smoked burnt in bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
Also.
Good food, good racing, and then we come back in the month of May with two good food events. It's going to be a busy couple of months, but we're looking forward to it.
Yep. All right. Well, Josh, I appreciate you stopping by. I'm not going to be too disappointed I didn't get a PD dog this time.
I'm saving that one for the track. You got to come join us. But thank you again for having me on. It's always a good time to come and talk racing with somebody who loves it as well. Talk food, those two things intersecting right here in our backyard.
Yep, they go together hand in hand. And as always, I appreciate y'all's viewership, and y'all head out to Darlington this coming weekend and the weeks following for those other events. And God willing, we'll see you on the next one.